Magandang hapon sa ating lahat. It is a rainy afternoon here in Manila, but a blessed afternoon nevertheless. And so we greet all the administrators, faculty, and students of the CEAP member schools all over the Philippines. I am Marianne Cruz, the Deputy Executive Director of CEAP, and I will be your moderator for today. Welcome to this afternoon's webinar entitled Give Your Students a Bright Future, brought to you in partnership with Adobe Systems and the First Data Corporation. But before we continue, let us begin our webinar with an opening prayer and remember that we are in the holy presence of God. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Loving and gracious God, thank you for all the blessings that you continuously bestow on us. We thank you for gathering us here today for another opportunity to learn from one another through this webinar. Send your spirit of wisdom to our resource person that he may be able to effectively impart his God-given knowledge to all of us. Bless him as he shares with us how to enhance creativity in the classroom and in the curriculum. Bless also the participants. Open the ear of our hearts that we may listen attentively and glean the invaluable information shared by our speaker to help us in the teaching vocation, so that we may continue to equip our students with the skills they need in their future careers and impart these to them in the spirit of love and generosity. We make this prayer through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. So good afternoon once again. Welcome to our webinar on enhancing creativity in the classroom. At this point, we call on our Executive Director, Mr. Jose Alan Arellano, to give us the opening remarks. Alan?
Mabuhay at magandang araw sa inyong lahat. The Omicron surge during the last few weeks in the Philippines changed all our projections for 2022 for the economy, for social and cultural activities, and even for the intricate education climate that we're in right now. The Philippines is one of a handful of countries to even consider a limited face-to-face or in-person classes. Needless to say, as education experts have been saying during the early days of the pandemic, the restrictions in our movements would greatly impact the learning environment of our students, and in fact, pushing many of them off the grid. Many dropped out. The hopes brought about by vaccination and availability of early forms of COVID medicine are being dampened by news of great probability of new variants that may rival Omicron in the near future. The other day, the World Health Organization said that we are not yet seeing the end of the pandemic this year. This prognosis may be dire and challenging for us as educators. Even members of the CAP, many of whom are leaders in various fields and are centers of excellence, are feeling the strains of the prolonged and enforced restrictions. It is good though that to a certain extent, limited face-to-face seem to be easing the pressure on students and members, at least for the tertiary education community late last year. Online, there are hundreds of articles on the futures of education and the accelerated effects of the fourth industrial revolution due to COVID-19. The common understanding among them is that hybrid learning will dominate the modality of education in the future. A healthy combination of online, technology-based, and in-person learning will determine the success of future students. Therefore, the skills of education planners to determine the right mix that would train students must be sharpened and harnessed. During the last couple of years, the CAP has been conducting webinars and partnering with technology education experts to show us a glimpse of the future of education and how they may be applied today. A consensus among them is that education should be focused on developing the following skills: critical thinking, creativity, problem-solving skills, collaboration among others, and these are familiar terms because they are the 21st century skills. Today, technology-powered education appears to be evolving as fast as the digital platform they are anchored on. In this forum, Dr. Tim Kitchen will talk about creativity and how making our students creative could power their future. And so on behalf of Sister Marisa, our president, and the CAP board, let me now allow you to listen to the CAP Adobe First Data Partnership Forum. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat.
Thank you very much, Mr. Arellano, for contextualizing this very important endeavor that we are undertaking this afternoon. Before I introduce our resource person, allow me to give you some reminders from our secretariat. First, as the talk is ongoing, we encourage you to post your questions or comments at the comment section of either the Facebook page of CEAP and our YouTube channel. We have staff members who collect these questions and comments that we will read during the question and answer portion. Second, certificates. We get a lot of queries about certificates. Please be informed that you will receive the certificate of attendance only upon completion of the evaluation form. The link will be posted as part of the description of this broadcast on YouTube and Facebook, but the link will only go live at the end of this webinar. So if you click it now, it's not going to open. We encourage you to answer the evaluation form and you will receive your certificate attendance within the next 5 days. Finally, please be reminded that this is a free webinar brought to you in partnership with Adobe Systems and First Data Corporation. If you're being asked for your credit card to register or your bank details, please do not do so because that is not CEAP. Lastly, we encourage you to share this webinar to your networks with the hashtags #CEAP Cares, #I Love CEAP, #I Love Catholic Education. And now we will no longer keep you waiting. Let us proceed with finding out how to enhance creativity both in the classroom and in the curriculum. And to share with us the best practices on this is someone who has more than 30 years of experience working as an educator. He has had experience not only from K to 12, but also in higher education. He is a passionate advocate for creativity in education and a well-recognized education thought leader in Australia. He is a regular presenter for a wide range of national and international education events, some in the Philippines. He has actually been here several times. Let us welcome with a hearty round of applause Adobe Senior Education Specialist for Asia Pacific, Mr. Tim Kitchen. Take it away.
Oh, well done. Let me share my screen
All right.
now so we can see my slide, make sure the audio is working. And there we go. Hopefully you're seeing my screen now. Well, come a star, everybody. And Salamat for this opportunity to present the topic, give your students the power to create a bright future. I love that topic. And I particularly love the fact that the word create is right there in the center of it, which is really important. Look, I've got to admit to you, I am missing the Philippines, even though it's raining now in Manila, and it's a beautiful sunny day here in Melbourne, Australia, where I am missing you guys. I haven't been to the Philippines now for over 2 years. Oh, I'm not sure why I do know why. We all know why that's the case, but I have had the pleasure of being in your country on several occasions, and you can see some great photos of schools and universities that I have visited over the years, and I'm so looking forward to coming back and returning to the Philippines in the near future, maybe even this year. Who knows? We might get that opportunity to travel again. After over 30 years as an educator, my role at Adobe as the education specialist for the Asia Pacific region is to empower the next generation to be lifelong digital creators. I'm based in Melbourne, Australia, as I said before, which is the current home of the Australian Open Tennis Grand Slam. So if you're watching the tennis at the moment, it's coming from my home city. And you can switch off the tennis now and watch me, because that's more important right now at the moment. I do publish a monthly newsletter called the Australasian Adobe and Education Update, and it has a reach of just under 50,000 teachers, with over 17,400 from the Philippines. That's 5,000 more than in my home country of Australia. So I want to give the Philippines a big round of applause. Hopefully you're hearing that big, there we go, we can hear that big round of applause. Very impressed with those sorts of numbers. And I'll pass on some more information about that newsletter a little bit later, just in case you're not one of those 17,400 that are already receiving it. Now, I want to do a quiz. We've got about a 6-second delay here, so it's going to be interesting to see how this works out. But I want to pose a question first of all. It's a bit of a fun question. Can you name the young artist in this picture? Go to the comments section in the Facebook site and see if you can quickly name that artist. And I'm looking at the comments now. I'll just scroll down to the most recent ones if I can. There we go. And I'm looking to see who's going to be the first person to actually name this artist. Very well-known artist. And if you've watched the most recent James Bond film, you probably would know this artist, maybe. If you've got a teenager in your family, or if you're a teacher, which you all are. There we go. Nellie's got it. Well done, Nellie. I'm going to give you a congratulations. Let's give a big crowd cheer for Nellie. Well done. Oh, there we go. That's enough. Hey, Billie Eilish, she's amazing. Do you know she's only 20 years old? She only just turned 20 a month ago. She's so young, and yet she's achieved so much. I've got a quick other quiz question for you now. I'm going to play a little clip from Billie Eilish, and I want you to name at least one of the 4 Adobe applications that were used to make this clip.
For me, creativity starts with what-ifs. Like, what if it takes place in a white void? Or maybe beige? No, black. What if there's fire? Did that already. What if there are some old cars? Or not? Let's see that in slow motion. Yeah, it's too much. What if it's in suburbia? That's not right. What about my look? Meh. That's cool. What if it happens in the rain? Yeah, this is it. Now, create what's true to you.
Well, congratulations to Byron and to Beeb. And who else am I seeing here who's got, and Joseph, you've covered 3. So Byron mentioned Adobe Premiere or Premiere Pro, which was used to put that whole video together. Probably the most common video editing solution there is in the world. And what did Beeb say? Beeb said Photoshop. Photoshop was definitely used to create some of the graphics there. And Joseph said Adobe After Effects. That was used to do some of the special effects and the composites that you saw in that clip. And Harold said Premiere. You're absolutely right, Harold. Photoshop's been mentioned. Who's going to mention the other one? I'm just quickly scrolling through to see if another one is mentioned here. Looks like no one's mentioned it. It would have been Adobe Audition would have been used to put the soundtrack together and just to fine-tune the audio side of that particular clip. An example of our tools being used in a very creative way by a very creative person. Now, the title of this presentation is Give Your Students the Power to Create a Bright Future. So the key question I want to pose at the moment is, is this one. Is encouraging creativity really all that important? And I want to find out from you what you think. So here's another bit of interactivity for you. I want you to scan this QR code. Use your mobile device, your iPad or your phone, and scan the QR code, and it'll come up with a poll. And the poll has got 3 different range statements. And you need to give us a response, either strongly disagree or strongly agree, or somewhere in that continuum, somewhere in the middle maybe. And I'm going to bring up the results of that poll once we've got a few in. Now, if you can't scan the QR code, there's a link down the bottom of the slide there. It says minty.com, and the code is 2778877. Now, I'm going to just bring that link and code into the chat in case that's going to be easier for anybody. And I'm going to start looking at the results. The results are coming in now, so let's have a look at those. I'll leave the QR code available as well as the Minty link, and we can start to see what people are thinking. So the first range statement was, creativity in education is an absolute necessity. And so far, out of the 17 people that have responded, everyone is strong. Well, 16 of you are strongly agreeing. 2 of you are agreeing. Nobody is disagreeing. Well, Marianne, I'm preaching to the converted here. Everyone seems to either agree or strongly agree that creativity in education is an absolute necessity. Oh, one person. Oh, well, we've got a bit of diversity here, which is good. So 2 people now, 2 people strongly disagree. That's really interesting, to strongly disagree that creativity in education is an absolute necessity. Second range statement, creativity in education is really only important in the arts subjects. Now, we've got quite a range. We've got 27 out of the 55 people who have done this poll who strongly disagree that creativity in education is really only important in the arts. But we've got 17 who strongly agree, and then quite a few that are in the middle there somewhere. So that's fascinating to see such a diverse range of opinions on that point of creativity in education. Is it really only important in the arts areas? The final range statement, creativity can't be taught. You're either a creative or you're not. And we've got 33 people who strongly disagree with that, 14 who strongly agree with that. Isn't that fascinating that in our own schools, in fact, people who generally say that creativity in education is an absolute necessity, and yet 14 of us are also saying that creativity can't be taught. You're either creative or you're not. That's really interesting to get those results. Feel free to keep doing that poll, and I might refer back to it a little bit later. I'll just take it off that screen for the moment. I've got another little activity for you, and I know if you're only working with one screen at the moment, this might be a little bit of a challenge, but see how you go flicking between screens. What I'd like you to do is I want you to open up an Adobe Creative Cloud Express web page, and I'm going to show you how to do this in a minute. If you've ever worked with Adobe Spark before, then you'll know what we're doing, because Spark has been rebranded as Adobe Creative Cloud Express. So it's just like doing a Spark page in the old terms, but it's now called Adobe Creative Cloud Express. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go and grab a Chrome browser and just bring it across to the share screen. And what you need to do to get access straight away, because it's all free, and to get access, you type in adobe.com/express. So that's one way. I'll just bring that into the chat if I can. And actually, you can probably just read that, adobe.com/express, or maybe someone else in the back end can put that into the chat for me. That would be lovely. So I'll just type it in here. So adobe.com/express. And when you enter that into a browser, this page comes up and it asks you to sign in. And as teachers and students, what you should be doing is when you click sign in is putting in your school email address, and hopefully it'll all just work beautifully with your school system. If that doesn't work, have a chat to your IT admin people as to why you haven't got free access through your school to this incredible resource, because it's so cool and it's totally free for K-12 schools particularly. There is a free version through Google, through Facebook and Apple as well. So if your school hasn't got you set up yet, go through Google, Facebook or Apple. But be aware that if you do go through Google, Facebook or Apple, you do need to be 13 or over, which is fine for you. But if you want your students to use this resource, it's best to get your school set up through their school system so that everything is housed within the school. So I'm already set up. So I'm going to click on my email address and then I'm going to click company or school account. And this is going to open up or start opening up. For me, it'll give me 2 layers of authentication. I'll just have to wait for, or maybe not because I logged in earlier. No, it's definitely doing that for me. So I'm just waiting for my phone to buzz. There we go. And it's authenticating me now. I often find that when I'm working with teachers that they beat me to it because they don't necessarily have 2 layers of authentication that I have to go through. So hopefully by now you're starting to log into this incredible piece of software, which is totally free for all K-12 schools around the globe, called Adobe Creative Cloud Express. And once you're in there, you're looking, first of all, there's so many things you can look at in your own time. There's some really terrific resources and templates and all sorts of things that you can work with. But if you go to this symbol here, I'll just highlight it with my little highlighting tool here. See if I can bring my highlighting tool up. There we go. This little plus symbol with a purple circle, when you click that plus symbol, you can start creating things. And what I want you to create, first of all, is a web page. Now, it doesn't have to be published. We're not going to make this an internet web page. It's just a way of taking some notes and creating some content really, really quickly. So go ahead and click web page. And the first thing that will come up after you're waiting for it to load will be add a title. And I'm just thinking, just to be really quick, and we'll call this Creativity in Education, and subtitle Dr. Tim Kitchen. So this is how you can just really quickly get a title for your web page done. And I'm thinking now this little plus symbol will allow me to put some visuals behind the title. If I quickly click on photo, a panel appears and you can see all the different ways I can bring images into my page. Some of them will be familiar to you, some of them may not be. I could upload. And what I'm going to encourage you to do during my presentation is, if you come across something that I'm sharing that you think is really amazing, hopefully lots of things, screen grab it. Take a screen or a snippet from your screen and then upload that screen grab to the web page by clicking the upload button. When it comes time, I'll show you again how to do that in a minute. But right now I'm going to get a photo in the background here by clicking find free photos. I'm just going to click on that one and just do a search for creativity. Because when I do this, often my favorite photo comes up. And these are all royalty-free images from Unsplash and Pixabay and Flickr and a range of other sources of royalty-free images that you can use for any project without having to worry about copyright. There's my favorite one. I'm going to click on this one and look at that. Look at these 2 young people. Obviously, they're working with Adobe tools. I mean, look how excited they are. Look how engaged they are in the learning process. Now, when you scroll down from your title and your background, it reveals another little plus symbol. In fact, every time you add content, you get a new plus symbol so you can add more content. And this gives you 6 different, 7 different buttons. I should know by now. You can add more photos, you can add text, you can add hyperlinks, you can embed videos from YouTube, from Vimeo, even videos that you've created with Adobe Creative Cloud Express, the video storytelling side of it. You can embed those as well. It's a really versatile tool, and it's totally free for K-12 education. So if you come across a screen grab that you want to do of my presentation, click on photo, and just bypass find free photos by clicking the little arrow just here. And this will take you back to that original panel where you can upload the photo, the screen grab that you took. And what I'd like you to do is just have a series of screen grabs And then also hit the text tool to type some annotations, some comments, some notes, some thoughts about what content I'm delivering to you. Every so often, I'll give you a link where you can go and turn the link into a button. I might even give you a video link that you can add and embed that video. So by the end of this presentation, you will have a wonderful document that you can reflect back on later on. You can share with your colleagues, even your students if you want to. And if we get time, I'm not sure if we'll get time for this, you can even publish it if you want to and put it on the internet and then share it through your comments. So you can share it with everyone else that's with us, which will be really cool. One other great little feature is this button here. When you click on the invitation button, you can actually invite people to collaborate with you. So you can have a team of people working on the same web page, or on the video story if you're on that side of the application, or on the graphic side. It's a fabulous tool. It's just amazing. So if you were used to using Adobe Spark, it's now called Adobe Creative Cloud Express. So good luck getting that in the background, and hopefully we might even see some of your work. Earlier this week, I actually published an article called Creativity Matters in All Areas of the Curriculum and All Levels. And the article tries to answer the following key questions. What is creativity? Why is creativity important? Can anyone be creative? How can creativity be taught and assessed? Some of the key questions that may have come to your mind as you were doing this poll. The link to the main article, I'm just going to post that into the chat. And what you can do then is bring that and make that a little button into your web page if you'd like to. So I've now put that into the chat for you to have access to. So to answer the first question, what is creativity? The article looks at 10 different, actually more than 10 different definitions of creativity. Some of them are by internationally renowned academics in the field of creativity in education. And other definitions are actually from classroom teachers just like yourself, teachers who I've worked with in the past. I love this particular quote, this particular definition of creativity by the late Dr. Alice Paul Torrens from the University of Georgia. He says, aspects of creativity include uniqueness, fluidity, flexibility, elaboration, humor, and an avoidance of premature closure. It's such a great definition of the concept of creativity. Another one that I really enjoy is this one here from Professor Ellen Jane Langer, and she says, creativity has dynamic qualities with the power to explore uncertainties that can reveal multiple perspectives during an activity. Fantastic definitions. And there's a lot more in the article you can read and expand upon if you like. I want to highlight the fact that humor is mentioned by Dr. Torrens. It's just awesome. I mean, humor and having fun, and I like to call it in my classrooms, hard fun. I think it's an important part of the creative process in teaching and learning. In fact, the concept of hard fun comes from the work of the amazing Professor Seymour Papert. Back in the 60s and 70s, he invented what's called the constructionism learning theory, which is all about the best way to learn is to make, to do. And if you're making things around the concept, you're going to learn it in a deeper way, is pretty much what that theory is about. In an article he wrote about hard fun, he concluded that everyone likes hard, challenging things to do, but they have to be the right things matched to the individual and to the culture of the times. And the more I think about that phrase, the more relevant that really is to the best teaching and learning experiences that I've ever facilitated or been part of as an educator are when I've given students a challenge. And it's the right challenge at the right time for the right individuals within the culture of where they're at. I'm also loving this particular quote. It's a very famous quote from Professor Seymour Papert. You've probably heard it before. The role of the teacher is to create the conditions for invention rather than provide ready-made knowledge. So often we do the simple thing. We teach to a test. We teach to a worksheet. We teach to a textbook. That's not creating the conditions for invention. That's not encouraging creativity. That's not encouraging students to make in order to learn. And we really need to be taking note of the wisdom of men like Professor Seymour Papert. As educators, one of our roles is to encourage and foster creativity. The next big question in my article was, why is creativity important? Well, I started answering this question by looking at some of the research that's come out of the World Economic Forum of all places. And in fact, they've been studying the most important skills for people to have to thrive in the future. They've been doing this for many years now. Let's have a look at some research that came out of the World Economic Forum back in 2016, where they predicted what would be the most important skills for people to thrive in 2020 and beyond. The fifth most important skill, coordinating with others, teamwork, collaboration. Fourth most important skill, people management, leadership. Again, very much connected to collaboration and working in teams. The third most important skill to thrive in the future, according to the World Economic Forum back in 2016, for today and beyond, creativity. Who'd have thought? This is the World Economic Forum pushing for creativity as a vital skill to thrive in the future. Second most important skill, critical thinking. And the most important skill identified back in 2016 was complex problem solving. In a more recent study by the World Economic Forum, they joined partnership with Microsoft's LinkedIn, and they researched a whole lot of hiring managers that use LinkedIn as a main source to work out what skills we're looking for in people that we're about to employ. Well, they came up with the top 5. Fifth most important skill, time management. Pretty obvious. Fourth most important skill, adaptability. Third, collaboration. Second, persuasion. Guess what hit number 1 in this research? Creativity. So there you go. You've got hiring managers from all over the globe who are saying, we're looking for creative people. We're looking for people who can think outside the square, who can help bring a creative element to our particular business or whatever it is that we're hiring for. It's important to note that the World Economic Forum is an international, independent and impartial lobbying group made up of over 1,000 global enterprises and public subsidies with a mission to improve the world by connecting and engaging business, political, educational, and other leaders of society to help shape global, regional, and business agendas. So they don't particularly have a creative agenda, but they're certainly pushing for creativity as a big, important focus. It's interesting that when I do raise these sorts of issues with educators and school leaders, I pose the questions, how often are we developing these skills in our classrooms? How often are assessments based on collaboration and teamwork? How often is creativity a vital part of all of our assessment tasks? How often are students encouraged to think critically and to solve problems based on their critical thinking, not just accepting everything that they hear or read, but to think critically? It's so important as educators, we're providing that environment to prepare our students for the future. The next big question that I try to answer in my recent article is, can anyone be creative? Well, let's have a look at that poll again. Creativity can't be taught. You're either creative or you're not. 52 people strongly disagree, 20 strongly agree, and there's a whole lot of you in the middle there. Well, let's have a look at some of the research around this particular question. The late, great Sir Ken Robinson, and if you've never come across him, do yourself a favor and look him up. He's just an absolute guru in this whole area. He helps us to answer this question. He's written several books and he's been a keynote presenter in so many conferences and video presentations. In his book, Creative Schools, Sir Ken Robinson says, creativity comes from the many powers we have by virtue of being human. Everybody has the potential to be creative. Creativity is a gift that we have over other animals. Creativity is not just for the arts and other so-called creative subject areas. He says creativity can be found in science, in mathematics, in technology, in business, and in just about every other human endeavor. There's only one subject area where I wouldn't be encouraging creativity, and that's accounting. Just putting it out there for you business and accounting teachers, we're not looking for you to encourage a lot of creative accountants in the future, just saying. I've had the great pleasure of meeting Sir Ken Robinson on 3 separate occasions. In fact, we had him booked to be a keynote presenter at our 2020 Adobe Max conference, but sadly he passed away just before that event, which was very sad. In the Adobe for Education YouTube channel, and there's the link, bit.ly, that'll take you straight to this resource, we've published a set of recordings that we did with Sir Ken about the importance of creativity. And you can see them through that link. In fact, I'm going to grab that link if I can. Let's see if I can do this a bit more successfully this time. I'm grabbing that link. I'm going to put it into the chat because I'd love you at some point to add it to your web page that you're building for me, hopefully, or at least take a note of it and have a look at some of those videos when you get a chance. In his famous 2006 TED Talk, which some of you, or hopefully a lot of you have read because it's been the most watched TED Talk ever in the history of TED Talks. He said, creativity now is as important in education as literacy, and we should treat it with the same status. Strong statements, but really powerful statements. And back in 2006, quite controversial statements. But these days, with all the other research that's happened around this concept of the importance of creativity, it's now commonplace. We're talking about this as the norm, that creativity being just as important as literacy and numeracy. The final big question I try to answer in my recent article is, how can creativity be taught and assessed? Is it possible to do it? And well, some of you will probably argue it's not, based on the poll that we had earlier. To help recognize when creativity is happening, the following questions can be posed and even applied to an assessment rubric. First question, is the student's work original for them? Not necessarily original, like the rest of the world has never seen this sort of work before, because that's not realistic at all. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's not creative if it's not original for the whole world. But if it's original for them or original for the context of their classrooms or their culture, then that's showing signs of creativity. Did they look at the problem in a new way, rather than just the obvious way that they first thought of? Did they brainstorm? Did they come up with alternative solutions to the problem? That's a way of assessing creativity. Has the student elaborated on their ideas or added detail and complexity to their work? Another way of assessing creativity. Do the ideas meet the criteria or the learning goal? And are these ideas meaningful, useful, and relevant? So there's some key questions you can pose next time you look at doing an assessment rubric. Maybe add creativity to the top of your columns and then pose those questions just to see if you can assess creativity in your classrooms. Some people say that creativity can't be taught, and it's only really of value if you're interested in a career in the arts and media or the communications industries. And that was evident in the poll we did earlier too, where quite a lot of you strongly agree that creativity can't be taught. In fact, how many? 20 of you out of 114 that did the poll. Many say that creativity has little or no relevance in the world of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Well, I'd like to blow that myth out of the water by sharing with you a story about a young Filipino student named Hillary. There she is. See where she came from. We're so impressed with Hillary's story that we used some Adobe tools to put her story into the following animation.
When you think of a STEM student, you probably think numbers and lab coats, not magic and creativity. But why not think of both? Hi, my name is Hilary Andales, and I'm from the island province of Leyte in the Philippines. While most children grow up hearing Cinderella stories and tales of magic, I grew up learning about Marie Curie and Charles Darwin. My father loved physics, so naturally I was surrounded by math and science both at home and at school. In first grade, I started joining math competitions. I became known as a math girl. But there was also another boy in my class who was good at art, and he would enter the art competitions. I got called intelligent, while he got called creative. I wondered, why couldn't we be both? In 8th grade, I started designing graphics about my favorite show, Doctor Who. At first, I was confused by Photoshop's buttons. But what was first intimidating soon became intuitive. I then created things like t-shirts, infographics, and even a math textbook for kids in my community. At this point, I realized the magic I had to make something that didn't exist before exist. But then, in 2013, I had a big turning point in my life. Typhoon Yolanda struck my home and left over 6,000 people dead. Though we were used to big storms, no one adequately explained the dangers of this one. Had the dangers of a storm surge been communicated properly, more people could have been saved. In that moment, I realized that sharing science in a more understandable way could make a better world. And more importantly, I realized that I can help make that better world. In 2017, I combined my interests in science and communication to compete in the Breakthrough Junior Challenge, where students create videos explaining complex concepts in ways that everyone can understand. My entry about Einstein's theory of relativity won first among 11,000 entries worldwide. I got to stand on the same stage as Morgan Freeman and my favorite scientists. I also received a scholarship to attend MIT, where I'm currently studying and doing research on astrophysics. I also traveled the world sharing digital literacy, inspiration, and of course, science with everyone. So I guess, in a way, I still am the math girl. But now, you can call me creative too.
How cool is that? And what a great example of what is possible when students are given the opportunity to learn and use Adobe tools when they're at school, when they're at high school or even primary school. And then see how Hillary blossomed by having that particular experience. So I've just put in the chat while that video was playing, I put the link bit.ly/Hillary-story. Feel free to add that link to the webpage because that's a fabulous little case study of what's possible. Look, folks, to finish off, I just want to let you know I'm very fortunate in my job to meet lots of students around the Asia-Pacific region and lots of teachers too, but particularly with students whose potential is unlimited because they're developing rich digital creativity skills and confidence with applications like Photoshop, like Premiere Pro, like After Effects, like Adobe Illustrator, and the amazing Adobe XD design thinking tool, fast becoming one of the most popular of the Adobe applications in the Creative Cloud. And I seem to be spending most of my time these days with English and humanities teachers, as well as science and mathematics educators in schools and universities, showing them the power of Adobe's simple to use, low lift, but high impact tools like the new Adobe Creative Cloud Express, formerly Adobe Spark. The simplest way to make a video story, digital graphics, and as you're hopefully experiencing now, web pages. Adobe Creative Cloud Express is free. but you need an Adobe ID, a Google ID, Facebook ID, or Apple ID to access, which means you need to be over 13, like I mentioned earlier. That's why we recently introduced Adobe Creative Cloud Express for education. And I want to play, probably not the whole of this clip, but just to give you a sense of what this is all about. Have you heard the news? Adobe has launched Adobe Creative Cloud Express, a set of low-lift web and mobile tools that make it easy for anyone to creatively express themselves. Adobe Creative Cloud Express makes it possible for everyone, independent of skill level and confidence, to creatively communicate and collaborate. Next time you open what was Adobe Spark on a browser, you will notice the difference. What was the free version of Adobe Spark is now the free version of Adobe Creative Cloud Express, with the added bonus of some extra editing features for images and videos, such as resizing an image, removing an image background, converting to JPEG or PNG, trimming a video, resizing and cropping a video, merging videos, changing video speed, and reversing video content. But wait, there's more, especially if you're a primary or secondary school student or teacher. Adobe Creative Cloud Express for Education is free for all K-12 schools and has even more features. The new Adobe Creative Cloud Express for Education includes the well-known classic features from Adobe Spark on the browser, plus mobile apps including Adobe Premiere Rush for powerful video editing on the go, Adobe Photoshop Express for powerful image manipulation, the popular Adobe Spark Video for simple video stories, and Adobe Spark Page for publishing web content. It gives students and educators everything they need to confidently create standout graphics, photos, presentations, web pages, and video stories to express themselves in unique and beautiful ways, both inside and outside the classroom in any subject area. Adobe Creative Cloud Express for Education also offers safe search functionality, education-specific privacy. For the sake of time, I'm just going to pause that video there, and I'll give you a link to it a little bit later if you want to watch the rest of it. But over the last couple of months since Creative Cloud Express was launched, which was only recently, it was only launched in December last year, so it's very, very new material and new applications, really. We've been creating this resource called Get to Know Your Creative Cloud Express. Now that link there, adobe.ly/express/APAC, if you want to take a note of that, because I'm going to click into it right now to give you a sense of what this is like. But I noticed in the chat that you weren't able to see my browser last time. So just maybe Mary Ann, I'm going to bring my browser back up to the share screen. Can you tell me if you're seeing the, I'll just bring it, try again. Sorry, bear with me for a minute. There we go. It's just a little bit slow at the moment. Are you seeing my browser now coming up on the share screen?
No, I think you will have to remove the share screen from where you're broadcasting, and then you share the one on your browser.
Yeah, what a shame, because I don't want to do that because of the way I'm set up here. So I won't do that. But what I'll do is just get you to do that in your own time. And have a look at that link, because this particular resource, we've been spending a lot of time just doing some very simple little tutorials to help you get started and help your students get started. But every tutorial also has a one-page PDF document that you can print out and put in your classroom with a step-by-step guide on how to do things like all the different aspects in terms of creating a video story, how to create a flyer or a poster or an infographic, how to create a web page like some of you are doing right now with Adobe Creative Cloud Express. So it's a really cool resource there for you, adobe.ly/express/APAC. And of course, the Creative Cloud Express is a great introduction to the full Adobe Creative Cloud suite of applications, which is now made up of about 50 desktop, mobile, and web apps and resources for creativity and productivity. I like to call it a digital makerspace for problem solving, for collaboration, for digital literacy, for communication, for engagement, and for creativity. All those fundamental 21st century skills that were mentioned at the very start of this particular webinar. A great way of getting to know these apps is I'm going to put this link into the chat. And again, I'm just having a few little issues at this end. Let me just quickly try and grab that link again. The link is creativecloud.adobe.com. I'm putting that into the Facebook comments now. creativecloud.adobe.com. It's like a one-stop shop to find out how to use it, how to get access to it, what the different apps do, all the apps for photography, all the apps for augmented reality, all the apps for virtual reality, all the apps for virtual photography, all the apps for illustrations, all the apps for music recording. Like, there's so many things you can do with the Adobe Creative Cloud, and hopefully that resource there will help you. And the link is there on the slide now, creativecloud.adobe.com. Just to finish off, I do have this little video, and again, I probably won't play the whole part of this video, but it just sums up how a Creative Cloud is being used in education. You're the first people to see this video. It only got finished yesterday. Adobe is the global leader when it comes to digital creativity software. Adobe applications are used at the highest levels of the multimedia and communications industries, as well as in primary schools, secondary schools, and universities all over the globe to enhance digital literacy, communication, and creativity. Adobe creativity software is now divided into two special homes: Creative Cloud Express and the Creative Cloud. Formerly known as Adobe Spark, Adobe Creative Cloud Express is a set of very simple to use creativity tools that can be used by anyone in any curriculum area and level to build powerful graphics, video stories, and web pages. Adobe Creative Cloud Express for Education also includes the powerful Adobe Premiere Rush video editing application, as well as Photoshop Express, and is totally free of charge for K-12 schools around the world. The Adobe Creative Cloud is the home of Adobe's well-known industry standard applications such as Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, Premiere Pro, XD, and a total of about 50 desktop, mobile, and web-based applications and resources. Other apps that are part of the Adobe Creative Cloud include Acrobat DC for creating, managing, and editing PDF documents and creating a paperless experience, Character Animator for real-time animation, Fresco, the ultimate drawing tool for the iPad and Surface Pro, Lightroom for outstanding photo editing, Aero for creating augmented reality experiences, After Effects for serious video effects and composites, and Audition for multi-track audio editing and podcasting. Get to know these applications through the Adobe Education Exchange, edx.adobe.com, which now has over 1 million members across the globe with a wide variety of free teaching resources and self-paced, on-demand professional development courses for educators. The Adobe Education Exchange is also the gateway to the Adobe Creative Educator program. This is a multi-level badging program designed for any educator in any curriculum area. You don't have to be an Adobe expert to be an Adobe Creative Educator. Scan this QR code or look up adobe.ly/edu events to find out more about coming events that Adobe is running for teachers, and use this QR code or look up adobe.ly/contact-edu-apac to get in touch with the Adobe Education team or subscribe to their monthly newsletter. Please let your colleagues know about what is possible with Adobe's amazing tools to enhance digital literacy, communication, and creativity in the teaching and learning process. The late, great Sir Ken Robinson said that we don't grow into creativity, we grow out of it, or rather, we get educated out of it. And as education leaders and classroom teachers, we all have a responsibility to make sure that this is not the case, so that we can give our students the power to create a bright future. Thank you so much, Salamat, so much for the opportunity to present to you today. And I'm going to hand it back over to you, Marianne.
And we are back. Thank you again, Tim, for that wonderful, wonderful presentation and telling us how important creativity is. I mean, it's already at par with numeracy and literacy, you say, right? But before we proceed to our question and answer portion, may I just remind all the viewers again that you will receive your certificate of attendance only upon the completion of the evaluation form. I believe the link is already pinned in our comment section on our Facebook page. We encourage you to answer the evaluation form to receive your certificate of attendance within 5 days. All right. But before that, we'd like to thank our star senders. ACAC, 75 stars. Francis Sen Dio Bolaños, 75 stars. Rosa Maria Baby Domantay, 75 stars. Bebe Jovi Escabarte, 75 stars. Mac R. Lau, 75 stars, and Noril Kasim, 75 stars. You may continue to send stars to support our webinar. And before I start asking you a question, Tim, we'd like to read some of the affirmations on your talk. From Joel Cardino, yes, anyone can be creative. From Dakuya, from Sister Marisa Dakuya, we are all creative in a unique way. From Daisy Ann Patriarca, we have different gifts and talents. We are creative in our own way. From Sarah Jane Itok Sanlao, very cool. From Krija Mendoza, very impressive. Again, from Sister Maris Dakuya, I congratulate you for that. From Francis Bolaños, it is very helpful in visualizing abstract ideas to be able to present ideas in a much easy way to digest information. And from Pamela Reyes, I have to try the I have a try at the application just now. I think it's a good app for teachers and students. So I guess a lot of them are appreciating that. I think some of them just heard about the apps just now. Huh? So yeah, there you have it. So first question, I please put in your questions. We don't see any questions yet. So for now, we will just I will ask a question based on the presentation of Tim. Tim, you were referring to the World Economic Forum, right? And so they're saying that creativity is going to be part of the top 5 skills. So what happens now to like literacy and numeracy? I know there are a lot of like Howard Gardner has a different kind of like multiple intelligence and all that. But so if creativity is up there, what happens now to other skills, the logical mathematical skills? Where is that in that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. The traditional literacies and traditional skills are still really, really important. It's very hard to be truly creative in a sense of being able to present what you want to create if you don't have those fundamental skills. So as educators, we need to find a balance there of making sure we're teaching the traditional skills, but also with a creative edge in encouraging our students to creatively write, to creatively solve problems in mathematics, rather than just listening to a teacher talk and getting ready for a test. That's not what education should be about. We should be encouraging doing rather than just passive listening.
So what now will be that the structure of the classroom? I mean, given that kind of paradigm now, we have to do a lot of deconstruction of old paradigms, right? So how then will the classroom look like? We might even have to change the physical characteristic of a classroom.
Well, do you know what's really interesting? Over the last 2 years, my home city of Melbourne has been in lockdown. We've been the most locked down city in the world.
Okay.
Therefore, most of our students over the last 2 years have not been in a classroom. But when we look at our standardized testing, when we look at our assessment results with our national assessments, our students have done better in lockdown than they've ever done before in a traditional school classroom. What does that say? Isn't that interesting? When you give the students agency to learn in the ways that they want to learn at the times when they are able to learn, and when they have that flexibility in a more creative approach, they can actually do incredibly well. And we've got evidence of that here in Melbourne, the most locked down city in the world.
Oh, okay. So it's really that thing that they're saying the teacher should just be a facilitator of learning. I mean, you let the students decide how they want to learn. Like teacher is no longer the sage on the stage, but rather the guide on the side, right? I think that's something that we have to really think about.
Yeah, well, we've been talking about that for many, many years. In fact, I remember when I first started training as an educator back in the mid-1980s, we were talking about student-centered teaching and project teaching and problem-solving approaches to teaching and learning. And we're only just really realizing how important that is now, that we've got the tools to be able to do that really well. But having that teacher-centered approach is still important at times. There are some students who just can't cope unless they are directed in how to do things. So they need to have that direction. Therefore, we need to be flexible. We need to make sure we know how our own students learn best, so that we are catering for them and not just having a one approach for all students. Because we know if we're talking, the average attention span of a young person is around about 7 seconds.
Yeah.
They might look as though they're interested, they might look as though they're listening, but they're not. And so you've got to adapt for that in the modern world.
Yeah. So you were able to do testing there in Australia? How were you able to do the standardized testing there?
We have a national test called the NAP plan. It's a national numeracy, literacy and science test that every student has to do in grade 5, in year 9 and another year level 2.
But you did all this online because you were on lockdown.
Yeah, it was all done online. It's all done through technology. Yep.
All right. So now when you think about it, what role does technology have in all this, in the teaching, learning scenario?
Well, I'd put the question back to you, Marianne. What role does technology have in your life? I mean, when I go to bed, I have 5 different devices charging. Probably shouldn't be in my bedroom, but they are, and they're charging there. When I wake up, I go to 5 different devices. I could not live. I couldn't do my work. I couldn't do my social life. I couldn't do living at the moment without that sort of technology. So why do we think our students are any different? Yeah. And our teenagers are probably using more than 5 devices on a regular basis when you think about what they're up to. So if society is all about technology, education should have that as a high priority as well.
Yeah, but our only problem here in the Philippines is that not a lot of us have access to the Wi-Fi. You know, that's especially in the southern part of our country. They have a very difficult time accessing the Wi-Fi connection, and that poses a problem, especially in distance learning when they cannot access. So I think you're lucky where you are, probably because you have a good internet connection, right?
Well, we certainly do in cities, but we can identify with that with our regional areas and our rural parts of Australia, because Australia is a big country, but only a small population, and most of them are in cities. But we can certainly identify with that. We know that Wi-Fi is an issue globally, particularly in rural areas. It's one of the reasons why we came and worked hard on Adobe Creative Cloud Express for education, because, for instance, the Premiere Rush side of it, you don't have to be on Wi-Fi to use it. You can create a video story. It's an app that you download, and once you've downloaded it, you don't need the internet anymore to actually make the story. And we designed it so that you could run these apps on a Chromebook or just on a simple browser. You don't have to have a powerful machine to work with Adobe Creative Cloud Express. The more easier we can make the software, the more it can be used in those rural and regional areas.
Yes, because access is very important. So again, we just want to clarify, this is a free app, the one that you were plugging, because one of the things that was very problematic in the past for us is that some people find the apps quite expensive. So this time you're offering it for free?
Yep, totally for free for all K-12 schools. So that's Adobe Creative Cloud Express for education, and that's totally free. Adobe Creative Cloud Express is free as well, but you have to have an ID, like an Apple, or Google, or Facebook ID. Therefore, you have to be over 13, which is why we designed Adobe Creative Cloud Express for education and made it so that all of the features, like even the Adobe stock images that you can use with it, are all curated for schools. So nothing there that would be embarrassing for a student to look up, because it's all designed for students in K-12 and it's totally free of charge.
Wow. Okay. Before we proceed with the questions, let me read some other comments for you. Thank you, Dr. Tim Kitchen and CAP. I tried opening the apps. It looks interesting. The story of Hillary from Leyte is inspiring, especially for future learners, of how she was able to combine her God-given skills and enhance her creativity through technology. That's right. You know, that was really very inspiring. I myself, when I was watching it, I got a little teary-eyed because, you know, I lived in that part of the Philippines for quite a time when I was a mission when I was doing my volunteer work. We'd also like to give a shout out to some of our friends and those watching from all over, from Lapu-Lapu City, Max Dane, listening from St. Dominic Savio International School. Hello. So that's the Visayas part of the country. And then we have from Zamboanga, Sibugay, Julie Ibanez, from Xavier High School Poblacion, Zamboanga, Sibugay. So that's the southern part of the Philippines. And then from St. Teresa's College, Quezon City, here in the Manila area in Luzon, Jeffrey Bunyag. Okay, and there are a lot of other people watching us all over. All right, now let's go back to some other questions. Maybe we have time for one or two. I like the thing that you said about who's that top, the Robinson, Mr. Robinson, Sir Robinson, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the importance of creativity in the classroom, and creativity being equal to numeracy. I am very I am I am struck by that line, that, you know, it is now as important, you know. And so I think we will have to integrate all these, right, in our methodology, in our assessment. Yeah, you said something about assessing creativity. um have you done this in your work, Tim? Have you been using it in the classroom? Would you give us examples on how this worked in your classroom?
Yeah, for sure. Look, I taught year 12, which is the highest level of high school in Australia, for 13 years. And part of the assessment is externally assessed, so you don't have much control over it. But part of it's internally assessed as well, where I have to create the assessments. So what I used to do with the internal assessment is I'd add a 10%, and I'd call it the X factor. And I'd say to the students, when I look at your work, if the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, and I'm really excited by what you're presenting, you're going to get the full 10% for that X factor. And that is a spur, is an inspiration for students to go the extra mile and to try and get that extra. And even some students would look at my neck to see if my hairs were standing up when I was looking at their work. And that works beautifully for some students. But then other students who have never been taught to be creative, or who've never been taught the value of creativity or how to be creative, they find that really intimidating and hard, especially at year 12 level. So it's important that we're encouraging creativity throughout our primary schools, where it happens naturally. Let's face it, with our early years, with our 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds, it's all about play. It's all about creativity. But then something happens at around about mid-primary school, at about the age of 8 and 9, suddenly assessment becomes more about numeracy and literacy and getting spelling right perfectly and getting maths answers absolutely correct. Otherwise, you have failed. And suddenly failure becomes a bad thing when it shouldn't be. Failure is how we learn. Failure is a really important part of being creative. We should encourage failure, not discourage it. And that's where we need to change our thinking when we get to late primary school and certainly in high school.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe we can introduce some form of play in the classroom also, even on the higher grades, not just in the primary setting. Because I think all of us remains to be kid at heart, right? So somewhere in there, some student really still wants to play, even if he or she is already in 12th grade and all that, right?
That's true. Yeah.
All right. So, it's been such an interesting discussion, Tim. But maybe before I ask you for your final message to our teachers who are with us right now, maybe we will be flashing some of the QR codes that they can scan, and you can tell us about it. TJ, there. What is this about, Tim?
God, it's hard for me to see it. Can you see
Oh,
what
I'm
the
sorry. Yeah,
code
this
is?
one says Creative Cloud Express.
Oh yeah, so that's a QR code that takes you to, I think, a resource that I've built to show you how to use Creative Cloud Express. Yeah, that's the one. And
And the
how to
other
do the
one,
tutorials. It's just a one-stop shop for help and
okay.
support with Adobe Creative Cloud Express.
Okay, so this is the one that's free or not?
Yep, that's the one that's free.
Okay, that's the one so those who are watching right now, when you scan this QR code, that will take you to the Creative Cloud Express, and you can actually access that for free. Okay, and then let's flash the next QR code. Now, these ones are for it says to access the other upcoming events.
Oh yeah, so we run events all the time, and if you're interested in some of the other events that we do, whether they're teach meets, and we're running them for the Asia Pacific region, so the timing is pretty good for the Philippines when we run these, and they're either live online or they're on demand, and you can have a look at those through that link. And I think the other one is the contact form. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the on demand, the one on the left is the
Oh,
live
right.
events. The one on the right are on demand events. And
Terrific.
this one, these are also free
Yep.
events.
All free, and those ones go straight to the Adobe Education Exchange, which now has over 1 million members.
Okay, so we will try to join that Adobe Exchange. So how will they join that particular group?
Yeah, if they go to edx.adobe.com or just scan that QR code and then sign in, it's all for free. And there's so many great resources in there.
All right. So edx.adobe.com. All right. So maybe we can ask you now to give your parting shot, your final words to our viewers, our educators, our students.
Look, all I want to say is I often say at the end when I do a sign off to a video or a sign off to a presentation like this is keep being creative. Salamat.
Keep being creative. Let's give a round of applause for Mr. Tim Kitchen. All right, but we are not yet done. At this point, we would like to call on Adobe's Head of Education in Southeast Asia, Mr. Tito Minas, to give us the closing remarks. Tito?
Thank you, Marian. Hi, good evening. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, my name is Titu. Thanks, Marianne. Thanks, Tim, for a fantastic session as usual. Focused on creativity and how it can benefit education in general, students and staff included. So thanks for that again. And as you mentioned, yeah, we are waiting for Tim to come to our region. I'm based in Singapore, by the way. So he used to come quite often to Singapore, Philippines, Malaysia. So we are waiting for him to come back again. Hopefully this year, as you mentioned, maybe we'll get a chance to bring him to Philippines also sometime. Okay, so I won't take much time. I know I'm the maybe last speaker here between the session break off. So I'll just quickly go through a recap of what Adobe offers uh, in terms of the different offerings under Creative Cloud, Document Cloud, and Adobe Experience Cloud. So Tim focused on Creative Cloud Express, which is free, as he mentioned many times, for K-12 for schools, primary and secondary schools. And I'll cover, which is not free, that part. So I'll be focusing on Creative Cloud and Document Cloud today, not on Experience Cloud. But if you want any information on Experience Cloud, please feel free to drop me an email, or I just can ask one of our partners in Philippines also. So basically, under the Creative Cloud, we have fantastic apps for many, many years now. And most of the education institutes are using these apps. So apps is one part, or the software is one part which you use, but it comes with a lot of other benefits, which I think when Tim did cover briefly. So you can see here, we have all kind of services coming up with the apps, with the software. There are mobile apps, there are connected services, there's a storage on the cloud to share your content within the staff itself or with the students if you want to share with the students. And also the most important thing which we have introduced in all our software, we are still putting more features is Adobe Sensei. So Adobe Sensei is our artificial intelligence platform, and it will, if you see Photoshop or Illustrator or tools like InDesign, you'll see that a lot of new features added where you don't have to do the steps manually. With the help of Adobe Sensei, you can just do those like in one go, and it makes life very, very easy. Then apart from the desktop tools, mobile apps, we also have our own stock marketplace. I think Tim did cover briefly about stock also. We have millions of images, vectors, illustrations, 3D contents to be used in your everyday working in the campus or in the institute. So yeah, so you can see here we have the full range of offerings from desktop to mobile apps to connected services, cloud storage, and of course with the help of AI, it makes your life very, very easy. So just to show you what you get under the whole Creative Cloud apps package. So this is not Creative Cloud Express. That's not here. What you see here is what you get under the Creative Cloud, the whole all apps package. So you can see we have segmented based on the use or the use case. There's tools for photography, tools for printing, for publishing, for illustration, for video and audio, UI, UX. 3D is something which is we have just added for education. If you are an enterprise customer, you get the 3D Substance FOC free. You don't have to pay for that. But for the government and the commercial customers, they have to pay separately. So again, this is a good news for education. Our 3D, they have four 3D apps which are part of the enterprise offering FOC at no extra services. Then we have AR, VR tools also. And as I mentioned earlier, we have cloud and services for your online collaboration and making your life very, very easy. And we also have, in the end, you can see here under communications, we have Spark. This is now rebranded as Creative Cloud Express, and it has more than one solution or one software. As Tim covered already, we have 4 apps under Creative Cloud Express. So this is our whole offering under Creative Cloud all apps, and you can see basically it covers everything from what you want to do, whether you want to do a printing job, you want to do publishing or drawing or animation or audio or video, or even 3D content. So everything at one place. I'll cover shortly on Document Cloud also. We see a lot of requirements coming now, especially with the campuses working remotely or often being closed. A lot of education customers are requesting for Adobe Document Cloud, especially for Adobe Acrobat with Adobe Sign, because then you can work remotely. The staff can work remotely. They can get the digital workflow going, get their documents signed digitally through e-sign, even if they're not in the campus or even if they're at remote locations or different locations within the country. Like in Philippines, they can be at any location, any campus, but they can still collaborate using our Document Cloud. So yeah, so I'm just giving an overview today, but if you're keen on a in-depth session on Document Cloud or some of the features for Creative Cloud, do let us know. I can get our solution consultant and we can do a similar session on the features itself.
Okay.
What features are offered by Acrobat, Document Cloud, or Adobe Sign. So you can see here under the Document Cloud, the most important app is, of course, the Acrobat Pro Document Cloud. And then we have Adobe Sign, which is our e-sign digital signatures solution. So it's, again, very popular in education. We have a lot of education customers now using this particular solution. And it's SaaS-based, so you don't have to do any kind of installation or any kind of hardware requirement is not there. You can just log in, start using Adobe Sign, and it's very, very easy to use. Yeah. So I covered the Creative Cloud, I covered the Document Cloud, and next I just want to show you how this can be accessed by the departments or the schools or the universities or the campuses if they want to have any of these solutions. So we have this offering. This is also available on Adobe website if you want to learn more about that. But anyway, we have local partners in Philippines. You can even check with them. So we have offerings for the classrooms or the campus itself, where you want to install the software in the classrooms, which is under shared device licenses. And we also have software options for staff, faculty, if they want to have those under named user licenses, so they can work anywhere they are. Doesn't matter whether they're in campus or they're in the at home, so they can use the named user licenses to work remotely also. And in fact, during the last 2 years, we have seen the named user licenses, or annual, as it says here, is become very popular for both staff and students because of the frequent campus shutdowns and the COVID situation. And then, of course, the last option we have is for students also to own their own licenses. So again, these are under named user licenses, and they can work from home also. So we have this couple of options for school or campuses to have the licenses. They can have the mix of both. They can have some for the campus labs under the shared device licenses, and they can have some for the staff or students under the named user licenses. So yeah, that's it on the licensing part. And this is what we are currently offering. This is a limited period offer. Please do a QR code scan on this one, and you can get more information on the CF offer as mentioned here. There's a link also. And there's a date also for the deadline for this offer. So please don't miss it. You can get more information on this offer if you want from the local partner here. First Data, they're a partner here. And if you want any more information, you can always contact us, or you can contact Marianne on this particular offer. So yeah, so that's it, Marianne, from my side. I think I covered all the slides already.
All right. Thank you very much, Tito. You may already stop your slide share.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Tito, for taking us through the various Adobe offering. Okay, so what you see on screen is the offer that they want to that you may want to take advantage of. You can scan the QR code to see the screen, and you can register if you're interested. The form will be available until February 4. All right, so there, please take a screenshot, and then we may now remove the screen. All right, thank you very much. So again, we'd like to request you to please fill out your evaluation form, and we will also email to you the slides with a QR code so that you may access them anytime. So, and you will be able to know how to avail of Adobe's offers, not the one that Tim flashed earlier and the one that T2 was referring to, so that you can take advantage of the limited offer of Adobe software licenses for CEAP member schools. I believe there are special discounts for CEAP member schools. Okay, so you can just take advantage of that. So we have reached the end of our webinar. We hope that you learned a lot, particularly on creativity. And remember that always in our education process, the learner is very much important, and let us not forget to hone the creativity of our learners to give them a bright future, because creativity is one of the top 5 skills that they will need for the 22nd century. And so on behalf of our president, Sister Maria Marisa RV, RVM, and the CEAP Board of Trustees, Mr. Arellano, our Executive Director, and the CEAP National Secretariat, this is Mary Ann Cruz saying thank you and have a pleasant weekend.
Thank you.
Sa ikaw at ako, natuto sa prinsipyong punyo at serbisyong totoo. Kalintulad ni Kristo sa buwarang Katoliko. Pagkakaisa sa tulong at gawa, pasasalamat alaala, pagbabago, ang misyon sa mundo, magagawa sa biyaya ni Kristo. Ang kabataan, may hamon at alay sa ating bayan, maging lingkod at tulad ng pagbabago sa misyon sa mundo. Virgen Maria ang gabay at ang modelo. Sa mundong may bagong anyo, isang bansang may bagong sigla. Dahil sa ikaw at ako, natuto sa prinsipyong punyo at serbisyong